to that when we get to it.
I'll call the meeting to order, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, clerk, call the roll, please.
Connor,
Here.
Gary,
Here.
McMullen,
Here.
Reed,
Here.
Mayor Bedine.
Here. Are there any changes to the agenda?
I've done Mayor.
Okay, with none. I have a proclamation declaring April National Child Abuse Prevention Month. And I have that posted with I'm still in week 4 of being ill, so I'm not gonna read all of that. So, but we do proclaim April 2024 is National Child Prevention Month and urge all citizens to recognize the month by dedicating ourselves to the task of improving the quality of life for all children and families. And we will send a copy to LaSalle County CASA. At this point, I will open us to public comment. If you have a comment, please step forward, state your name, and you have 3 minutes. Seeing none, we'll move to new business. Item 1, Resolution 2024-15, approving the award of a supply contract to Asphalt Sales Company, Jacksonville, Illinois, for emulsified oil to be used in conjunction with maintenance of streets and highways by the city of Streator under the provisions of the Illinois Highway Code. You get a motion and seconds.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I heard Matt with the motion and Dave Reed with the second. Any discussion? Jeff, if you have any input, but this is an annual item. We do this every year.
This is the annual contract to supply emulsified oil that we use for spray patching. And also this year, I'm planning on doing a little bit of experimental project, doing some chip paving. So we'll use that same material.
Can this only be used for crack filling too? You don't put the gravel in with it?
Yeah.
Too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions or comments on item 1? Clerk, call the roll, please.
Connor,
Aye.
Gary,
Aye.
McMullen,
Aye.
Reed,
Aye.
Mayor Bedine.
Aye. Item 2, Resolution 2024-16, approving the award of a supply contract to Todd Campbell Trucking, Cornell, Illinois, for aggregate materials to be used in conjunction with maintenance of streets and alleys by the city of Streator under provision of the Illinois Highway Code.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Dave Connor and Matt with a second. Any discussion?
Once again, this is just the annual supply contract for any aggregates that we typically use for any road construction or maintenance, including alleys and sidewalk and other construction.
Any questions or comment? Clerk, call the roll, please.
Connor,
Aye.
Gary,
Aye.
McMullen,
Aye.
Reed,
Aye.
Mayor Bedine.
Aye. Item 3, motion to approve the Midwest Testing Services proposal for pavement and soil borings to finalize the pavement design for Iowa Avenue project. You get a motion and second.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Tim with the motion and Matt McMullen with the second. And discussion.
This is one of those things that, blessing and a curse, we are going to receive $750,000 in federal dollars for the Iowa Avenue project to repave that street. So by federal standards, we have to do more soil borings than we would if it was a locally funded project. So this is what that is, so we'll have to verify that the pavement design that we're gonna look at is appropriate. About every 500 feet, you have to do a soil and pavement boring now to meet the federal standard, so recommend approval.
Okay, any other questions or comments? We're still about 733,000 ahead
Yes.
with this, so we'll take it. Okay, clerk, call a roll, please.
Connor,
Aye.
Gary,
Aye.
McMullen,
Aye.
Reed,
Aye.
Mayor Bedat.
Aye. The next item is our consent agenda. You get a motion and second to approve the consent agenda with a fund warrant total of $627,962.04.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Dave Reed with the motion and Tim with the second. Clerk, call the roll, please.
Connor,
Aye.
Gary,
Aye.
McMullen,
Aye.
Reed,
Aye.
Mayor Bedat.
Aye. Okay, we'll go into our discussion items. So first are the unfinished discussion items from last meeting. Number one would be city properties for sale. And it looks like we have some notes here.
Yes, so what I put at each of your seats is the memo and chart I did last year on how to dispose of surplus properties. And I reviewed the list of properties and spoke with Jeremy before the meeting. These are all vacant lots, and the last time we had really advertised them for sale has been quite a while. My suggestion would be that we take out an ad and list all these properties and set a minimum bid, maybe $500, whatever council's pleasure is. Say that we will sell them by a quitclaim deed, which means we will not do any title work, and it is a very easy transaction to complete. And then for the ones that don't sell, you go to the bottom of the chart and you can do that alternative method. You know, we have staff try and sell them, we list them with a real estate agent, or we just do a public auction and see what they go for. But that's my recommendation.
Council like to proceed, I guess, with that going forward?
Yes, I'm fine with it. If it gets through.
And minimum bid, $500, okay with everyone, so.
More than enough.
Okay. So let's go ahead, Rob.
All right, see what happens.
Yeah, if we can get rid of one, I consider it a victory, you know? Okay.
Yeah, because some of these have been around.
Yes.
For the Lipton T lot, since that's a commercial lot, maybe set a higher for that one, or?
Mhm. Yeah, I think we can look at that. There's also one on here that, I think was where the Hopalong mural is. The 215 West Main.
215 West Main.
Yeah, so I don't think we really want to get rid of that
Yeah.
at this point.
that
So maybe the 215 West Main and the
517 East.
517 East Main, I mean, if
Well, we could set a higher bid,
Mhm.
a higher minimum, or do those separately. The beauty of putting them all in one,
It saves,
it's gonna save us a lot of money in publication costs, because these ads have to run
I
through.
mean, if someone bids, we don't have to accept a $500 bid either on that lot, do they?
Correct. Well, I would just set the minimum bid higher to begin with.
Okay.
Set them at 1,000 and then something like that, and then if they don't sell for the 1,000, then we have the right to go back and sell for it.
Yeah, I think 500 is fair.
Well, for the Lipton Tea
Do
lot,
I
I
have
guess.
to have the same minimum bid?
I think we kind of.
Those other two, we could set much higher, just.
Yeah.
Well, I would think the residential lots in the neighborhoods, that's one set of
Yeah.
how you handle that is different than how you would handle like a limited T-lot, because what gets built, how it looks, that's very important to your downtown. It's it's a gateway into the downtown. And so I think your standards would be higher. It may not be money, it could be the type of project, amenities is part of the project that matters more to the city. So I would keep that property or any other commercial property out of the mix. I'm not aware that we own that other commercial property though, but.
The only other one might be that 215 West Main, which I think a gas station used to be on.
That's where the landslide was. Insurance office.
It's right on the
Yeah,
hill.
well, we have a couple parking lots, and we'll have to go through the list and make sure that
Body shop way back in the day.
those properties that may have other purposes or
Yeah,
more value.
we can double check the list before we
Yeah.
go.
Another one might be 410 East Bridge, and I want to keep
Yeah,
that as a
parking
parking lot.
We just purchased that one last year.
Yeah.
So we'll finish up that list and get it going.
Perfect.
Okay?
Anything else with the city properties? If not, we'll move to item 2, which was regarding collecting money downtown.
So, I asked, city clerk to put in your chairs of notes on, tagging ordinance or street solicitation ordinance, and I looked at quite a few of them. So we can put it in place a variety of ways, ordinance, resolution, internal policy. But I noted what are common themes in these, policies where they've been adopted. They limit the areas where the solicitations are allowed, and to intersections where all traffic has to come to a complete stop. That seems to be a good practice. The permitted organizations are charitable organizations registered with the Illinois Attorney General's office. So we don't have everybody asking to stand on the corner. And I think we could also add our public safety employees that would allow the firefighters to do their, I think it's a red food collection that they do on an annual basis. And then there are some regulations, I won't read them all, and I guess council can address them as you see fit. I'll hit some of the highlights. Some communities say 1 permit per year. Some allow 2 permits per year, or, you don't have to restrict it at all. But I think the idea is to let as many organizations that qualify have the opportunity. They limit the number of people allowed in an intersection. The typical number I saw was 4. Set an age limitation, required high visibility vest. And then you can see the other items. We would develop an application form that would be processed through the city manager's office. And then you see the application requirements as to proof of charitable organization status, certificate of insurance, and that they would sign a release and hold harmless agreement, so that if someone were to be hurt, it is not the responsibility of the city of Streator.
Or did damage to somebody's vehicle or
Correct.
something.
Correct.
The only concern I have with this, and I love the thing you gave us here, is the certificate of registration with the Illinois Attorney General as a charitable organization. It's the Monarch Mission and the Garden Club is one that brought this to us with their request. I don't know if they're registered or not. They're such a small group. And seeing as how they're the ones that approached us to look into this more, I'd hate to make the regulations so they didn't qualify.
I understand what
Yeah.
you're saying, Mr. Reed. What I called out is what I saw in these
Yeah.
ordinances, and I suspect the policy reason behind it is, as I stated, you can't have everybody standing at the street corner asking for for money.
Right, any group of 8 or 10 people call themselves an organization, say we want to raise some money.
Right.
But I just want to try to be fair to the groups, because they are small groups. They are just more or less very local. They're not part of like Lions Club International or Rotary International. They're very small groups, the Garden Club and the Monarch Mission.
I get they're small.
You know, and they're asking for next weekend. I don't think they would have time to get registered so they would qualify for this. So they would have to do all that and then request a different date.
I think another hurdle might be providing a certificate of insurance,
Yeah,
which, you know, we require proof of insurance when people use the parks, when they use
Yes, we do.
all of our facilities.
right. And they should be able to get insurance. I mean, it's,
Well, you have to be a legal entity to get insurance.
yeah.
Right, so you have to be at least registered as an Illinois not-for-profit corporation, which is different than being registered with the Illinois Attorney General's office as a
Right.
charitable organization.
You don't
I mean,
necessarily.
At a minimum, I think we should require proof that you're a registered not-for-profit corporation in the state of Illinois. I think the charitable organization is a higher standard, and I think
Right.
that's where we should end up, but at a bare minimum. that
If
would
you're,
be a
yeah, per
Not-for-profit.
Illinois, if you're collecting or holding donations, you're supposed to be registered. So that's the one.
I mean, it doesn't exclude them from still finding ways to get donations, they just can't do it.
On the street corner, yeah.
Right.
Which, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the less the better, because I don't want to get going on the road like that, it's just driving me nuts.
So do we have to make a motion to adopt
Well,
these
no,
regulations?
well,
or-
I would
This
say-
is just an outline of issues. I need direction from council for what you want me to prepare.
I like everything on the list, I mean, I like you said too, I would limit it to once or twice a year. So that way someone doesn't just go ahead and book an entire month or whatever.
Why don't we start out, we'll give you 2 a year and we'll see how it goes. I mean, everything I write is just on a word processor, I'm carving anything in a tablet of stone. And then what about the age, 16, 17 is a minimum age?
16, I'm good with.
Yeah, 16.
16. And request at least 30 days before. I saw some that made you do it a year before, I saw some that made you do 10 days before.
30 days.
I thought 30 was fair. Okay?
Do we need to list the intersections where?
And then I need direction on intersections. We could have, I could talk to Mr. Palm and the police department and city manager and make a recommendation to council.
I'd say just the main.
I think-
Littleton.
Well, I know, does
The Streator Lions.
They do
Club
Main
for the
and
Hearts
Otter Creek.
Travel. What's that?
Main and Otter Creek by Casey's?
They do Main and Otter Creek. They weren't comfortable being in all the traffic, so they requested Main and Otter Creek. We've done that for several years now.
I would keep it to intersections that have some capacity for a 408, for multiple stop, and also low speed limits. So that we rule out, you know, anything
Yeah.
too far north of town or.
Yeah, well, Bloomington and
Like
Maine
or
and
Oakley.
Park and Maine, they're three-way stops, because one-way, or two-way stops, actually.
Right.
So you couldn't work a four-way stop.
Scary.
No, but they've got stoplights, so the traffic
Right.
will stop.
You do Main and Sterling. Right, those, I mean, because you don't even have traffic coming on the north south.
as long as all traffic has to stop.
Right.
So if the light's green, you can't go out there, when the light turns red, then you walk it down in between the cars. We got 3 so far, Main and Nottingham, Main and Park, Main and Bloomington.
That's what I got.
Do you want to add anything else, or?
I've seen the bridge and, I think Bridge and Park by the library.
Would the turn lane be the same as not stopping, per se? Because on Main and Bloomington, you can still hang a right on a red.
Right,
You have to come to a stop.
on a red light.
But if you're on the road-
Stop. I mean, we might just say some, council could just make the determination that we just don't like the risk at certain intersections.
I'm just saying, if you got people that still want to turn, but then you have people out there, hey, can I get whatever? And I don't know, I feel like with the turn lane that.
They're usually in between the first 2 rows right over on the curb side, so they shouldn't be in the way of it. And they won't come up till, when the light turns red, then they walk out in between the turn lane and the center lane.
Yeah.
So are we adding another one, or are we still at 3?
I like the 3. Limit them to Main Street.
Okay, let's see. I think that's it then.
Is this something too that we can shut down? If people are not abiding by the rules? We can tell them they're done? Like, put it in there like we can shut you down?
Yes.
At any moment for any reason?
Yes, that if they're in violation, then,
Yeah.
yes.
And if we get complaints, then the next year when they reapply, we can
Yeah.
turn them down then.
'Cause I don't know, even if like the non-police officer, the.
Community
Yeah,
service.
Or
that person,
community, yeah.
maybe be out there for the first start of it to see how they're doing, and if they don't like it, they can put it into it. Just to keep some sort of public order to it.
Yep. We definitely do that. Okay, well, we'll get this prepared.
What about the garden club?
Well, evidently, they don't qualify.
Well, right now, we don't have a policy in place.
So,
Right. So we need to
They
take
do it
that off the
before
table and
they-
vote it down?
No, we can still allow it.
We can allow it for this time and
I would be very much in favor of that.
then our
Since
next.
we don't have a policy yet, we can,
They can follow the policy that we have, that we're looking at.
Has anyone asked for permission before?
We do get, on our consent agenda, I typically do get one from the Lions for Main and Otter Creek for their candy days.
Candy
Like
days,
the-
yeah, second
Last
And
year,
then-
weekend of
Kids
October.
were out there. in
Contra
July.
Kids did submit a letter, I think that was on our consent agenda as well, and then Streator Fest has done that. And been
I mean,
out
I don't
there.
think we voted on it specifically, so.
Have they?
I'm not sure there's any reason for
Mhm.
that. Sounds like sort of-
And it was, a couple weeks here and there, but now it's becoming a lot of requesting. Yeah.
Well, and the way this would be presented is the applications could be approved just by the city manager. We wouldn't have to bring them before city council any longer.
Would you want that, or does council want to know the dates?
I think we still want to know the dates, I don't care who approves it.
if they meet all the qualifications, they shouldn't have to come to us every time.
I mean, that could just be a quick, throw it in the mailbox.
Oh, be part of our report that we release every week.
Mhm.
Are we letting
Yeah.
them do all the days they requested?
2 weekends in April and 2 in May. The
Mhm.
2 in April were the Monarch Mission, and May was the Garden Club. Do we want to let them do 2 weekends or just 1 weekend?
Well, just set a policy of 2 consecutive days, no permit for more than.
No permit for more than 2 consecutive days. And limited to twice a year.
Yeah,
So that would allow it 2 days,
okay.
2 times. That'd be 4 times.
Yeah.
Okay.
2 days each weekend.
We've never voted on it before,
It's just been on the consent agenda as a line item.
but it
So-
was never a discussion.
No, I just wanna make sure we have consensus that if they are out there, we're not, we understand it and we'll allow it, but once the policy is enacted, you have to follow, you have to be registered. Okay? Anything else with that? All right, we'll go into new discussion items. So number 3 is the Keim school zone signage. This, I guess I'll start a couple months ago, someone contacted me about people speeding on Columbus Street by the school and said, you know, there's no markings out here. No school zone, no school signs, and I guess in all the years of Keim School being there, that was never noticed and not a problem, so that kind of kicked off.
Yeah.
Yes, I'll turn to Jeremy.
So there are a couple of signs over there just not in the right spot, but they can throw them up, and it really became an issue when they went to a couple years ago, they went to the attendance centers. So now every K through 2 is going there, so there's more traffic. So, yeah, neighbor down there, and 100% right, the manual for uniform traffic control devices of the federal highways calls out how to put in these signs. So basically we put in, school zone ahead signs, 20-mile-an-hour speed limits, and then pavement markings as shown on the thing, that basically say school. If you've been by the high school, we have the big word school across the 2 lanes. So we just mirror that and put the signs as shown there. I met with the maintenance supervisor at Kimes, and I talked to the principal. They're on board. They actually, we might be coming back with something else about a pull around that they might want to work right at the corner of Columbus and Reading. That'll be later. So, but something to maybe help there because they're having issues with parent drop off, pulling in that intersection, and kind of blocking things, and so we might do a little turn off there. But the signage will, actually let everybody know as you're coming into there that there's a school. So I don't think as long as you guys are okay with it, we can do the signs. I think they're not anything. They're not a stop sign or anything. We can just put them up just with more of a heads up that we're looking at doing it.
The signs on 5th Street and the one at the corner of 5th and Reading, those will be facing as you're heading towards the school, right?
Yes. So yeah, as you're coming,
Then turn.
heading southbound. Yeah, heading southbound and then turning over.
And then are the intersections painted right now with the crosswalks?
No, and so and there's really no when they were so it's really faded. You can
Right.
kind of see a couple spots. So I don't know if I was over there watching what happens and pick up and drop off. There's not a lot of kids walking, and especially since now we put that sidewalk down Clark, and the thought process was if you are going to walk, bring them down Clark away from that busy intersection. And that's kind of why we put that one down Clark and kept it off of Columbus. Try to keep the kids over a block off. So.
Yeah, now that it's attendance centers, 99% of them are being dropped off. Nobody walks to school
Yeah.
anymore, especially at that age.
At that age. But when we were doing the sidewalks, I told the parents that you could walk them. So everybody said that. You can't, so you're allowed to walk. So a couple of them.
And I don't know who designed the parking lot there, because it's like
Horrible.
right next to the intersection.
Yeah.
And it is,
It's when they went to the attendance center, that extra parking got added in where it's trying to make the best of a situation that's not ideal, so.
well, signs to make it better.
Yeah. And a couple signs are out there will come down. There's a couple old signs that'll come down and this will be the signage.
Any other comments or questions on the signage? All right. Number 4, sewer plant contract amendment.
Well, we have a contract with Veolia to operate our sewer plant. As part of the current contract, it provides for Veolia paying certain capital improvement bills, like pump replacements and other equipment repair costs that then get reimbursed from us every year. There's a settlement at the end of the year. We do budget for that. It also provides for them to pay our comment bill, at least historically. And as we go and do a contract amendment, I'd like to pull out those costs and just have us pay directly instead of having it pass through Veolia. There's been some issues in the past where there wasn't a timely reimbursement because they didn't submit the required paperwork for us, to the point where we've had to pay for things that were done a year or two ago. And so that's not good from just a financial accounting perspective. It also requires the company to front us money to pay an ongoing bill that we could just pay as a matter of course. So I suspect we're paying them for the use of their money. And it's better to just get to the raw labor costs. That's similar to our approach with paramedic EMS services. We're providing the equipment, supplies, the building. All they provide is the personnel. You have anything,
The changes in the amendment, basically just to outline what Dave was just talking about is, so there's a reconciliation process, and like I said, it used to be, Public Works Director, kind of oversaw the operations down there when Larry Haig and previous members were there, and when Larry retired, Jeff came on, he kept the duty he used to have with enforcing permits around town, and I, kind of the staff person that was watching the sewer plant, so did a lot of meeting with Veolia. They're gonna be here on the 17th, so the regional, Rory Munns will be here to talk any questions you guys have, but wanted to get this to you so you have time to review it. So although they'd like to be here and just go through it. So basically, like I said, we're trying to get down to just labor in the contract, and eliminate some of the stuff that we're waiting 2 years to pay. So the first thing is the payment of chemicals. Polymer lime, chlorine, sulfur dioxide, and natural gas were built into their fee, so they had that buried in their fee. There's a spreadsheet in there that they provided that showed the 4 years. That'll come out, and that'll become a new monthly payment. And then at the end of the year, we can reconcile, but we took that, they've been budgeting about 45,000, it's been coming closer to 70 for the past 4 years. So we want to make all these numbers real, like there's no use in telling you it's gonna be 45 and then next year say, well, we gotta reconcile, which has been the past practice. So there'll be a fee there for 70,000 for chemicals. So their actual O&M fee, which is their labor, their equipment, their trucks, their lab, all that stuff. The reduction, actually, right now we're paying $637, $759.32. It goes down by $300, but that was just, if you walk through that spreadsheet, it shows where they took out the chemicals, they took out the utilities, they get to $637, and then this actually goes down to, historically, we're supposed to pay, and by the contract, we negotiate based on the CPI, an increase every year. If the CPI were to be negative, we would benefit from that, but it never happens. But we usually pay 3 to 5%. Because of the management issues that Dave talked about, we didn't pay it in 2023. And they're not gonna, and in years past that has happened too, but they've always come back and said, hey, you forgot to pay us. And so, and we have. But this year, because of this, we want to change the format of this and saying, we accept the fact that, that we were shorted $20,000 to $37,000. We're gonna move ahead because it was their issue more than it was the city issue. They didn't ever ask. We're not gonna come to you and say, hey, we want to pay you more money. So they're moving ahead from that. That'll stay out. But the 637 becomes higher. Or actually, the fee went down to 584. It becomes back to the 637 because they're requesting a 9% to get back. They missed a year at 3 to 5. If you look at the numbers out down there for labor and everything, it's not out of line. And they're not going to request the 30,000. So I think it's a good number, and that's where it's coming in at. The other monthly fee that we pay is for repair and maintenance. So if they have to replace a pump, if they have to buy nuts and bolts, all those things for our equipment, there's a maintenance fee that we pay every month. So we pay, and it's been $49,140 for 20 years. I mean, they've never changed it. That number's not real. We reconcile every year, and it's closer to 75. So we want to bring that number to 75. So basically, you're going to pay every month, there's going to be a bill. The bill from Veolia is going to come in every month now. Every month, there'll be the 637,419 divided by 12. There'll be the 70,000 in chemicals divided by 12. And there'll be the 75,000 divided by 12. That'll be on the bill. We pay it every month, and then at the end of the year, plus or minus, if they owe us a little bit of money, we'll get it back. We owe them a little bit of money, but we're not gonna, but I said, so it's coming through this thing. Yeah, so it is, I said, so in years past, I have it in here, we've paid anywhere from 64,000 to 303,000. 1 to 2 fiscal years later. I mean, and it's all, it's real. Things were done, but they were fronting us the money. So we're trying to get more real. This took a lot of going back and forth and looking at all that stuff. So we're gonna get that. And then really the only cool change is the last piece, and Article 9.5 will allow for the city and Veolia to work together. If they can bring, they have plants all over the state. If there's like something that the maintenance people down there can't do alone, you need one more guy. We need one more guy. In years past, we can't do it, we gotta contract it out. And so if we didn't, we had to contract out with a local contractor to do the work at a cost. This will now, if we approve and we request, they'll bring that one extra guy. And we'll pay him an hourly wage, and it'll be upfront, we'll approve it. And so will help us save some money down there for stuff that is just out of reach of what our local people can do. So there was an issue, they actually did it for us, changing a belt. The belt filter press is a huge, the belt's 8 foot wide and about, all told, probably 40 feet long. Weighs several hundred pounds. They brought 2 guys up from Lincoln and we changed it. So I mean, they did that just to show what they could do. And that works out well because that belt needs to be changed from time to time, and so there you go. So there's a mechanism now, there'll be a mechanism to do that. So the last piece is the overall thing. And so basically, the overall impacts, we will make payments, scheduled payments to Veolia of $791,179.57 for fiscal year 2024, which is in line every year. On average, the past 4 years, we've paid them $830,000. So we're a little less, which is good. So they front us a little bit of money, that's okay, but $300,000 was a little haywire. So again, they'll be here, and if we want to give it to you, look at it. Any questions, you can, and the actual contract was in the packet, and this is just an amendment. This is like a 4-page amendment. Cheryl's reviewing it, so if there's any legal stuff, that'll come up too, but the other question was that they wanted to know, in years past, the council has met down there. Would you want to meet there on the 17th? And actually look at the plan.
It's been a while.
And look at, and work on the contract, approve the contract. So, if there's interest, they'd like to know, so they'll sweep the garage and make it real pretty, and there you go. But any questions on it since you got it the other day?
Any chance they want to buy the place?
No. Well, they would, but again, I said, there's more to that than just, I said, there's a lot of things that the city does that without that, it's hard to hook in for annexation and all those things. But I'm sure they would.
Buy 2 more than they do, so.
Yeah.
On the chemicals,
Yes.
we're still paying the full amount, just monthly now, or are we paying for actual chemicals used?
We're paying for actual chemicals used, but we're paying this, but they're gonna bill it to us every month, and then at the end of the year, and in our monthly report, it shows how much chemicals. And at the end of the year, if there's a plus or minus from that 70, we'll adjust. But
So if we're not paying like we don't give them $15,000 for lime, they don't buy any lime, then they get the $15,000.
No, so yeah, and actually lime is the one in this amendment. Lime is exempt from, there's a 12% surcharge if we blow a number by 10%. If polymer prices spike outside of their control, and they do it, there's a 12% add-on. Lime is exempt from that because of the way we use it. We use it pretty dynamically for odor control and all those things. We are still looking at odor control outside of lime. There's some methods for maybe aeration or something that'll help that issue, but lime is, in that amendment, is exempt from that overage because of the way we use it, so.
Another question is, they want a 9% increase this year?
And then it'll be back to negotiated by the regular contract. This is a makeup.
Right, so It says they're not gonna ask for the increase that they missed last year,
Yes.
but they are asking for
But this is where they would be, they're not gonna ask for the cash that they missed.
it. Right. But it says the annual increase of German been in the 3 to 5% range. Now, this is 9, so are they asking for last year's and this year's?
No, they're asking for where it would have been had they asked for it, but they're not gonna request that number this year. So the 30,000 that we would have paid them, we don't have to pay them, but it's as if it happened moving ahead, because that's what inflation's been, they're not.
So, and technically, we're making up for that loss, because if it's 3%, for 3% last year.
Going forward.
Going forward, but so they will be out a number from 19 to 31. They will be out that money. And that's, again, because they didn't request it, that's their management issue. They're supposed to come in with a letter and say, we'd like to negotiate our CPI increase, and they didn't.
I look at it as they are getting it. It's usually 3 to 5, and it's going to 9. They're getting it and getting it this year. They're just telling you they're not asking for it. They're asking for a bigger amount this year.
But they missed the increase this year. So
Right. So if they would have got 3 last year, and now they want 6 this year, they're making up for that 3% they lost last year by asking for the 9. They're just not asking for last year. They're just gonna pile it on
They're
this year.
moving ahead as if they got it, but they didn't receive it. So yeah, that's.
But if they did 3% and then 6% on top of it, that would actually be a higher number than 9%. Right? If you have $100,000 and you put 3% on it, then the next year you add 6%, you're taking $103,000 times 6%. So it's a bigger.
And really what backs it up is, like I said, the projected payments by all these things is $791,179. In the past 4 years, we've on average paid them $830. So we're still
That doesn't
30,000
count-
below.
That 791 does not count the stuff we're taking out, like comment bill and whatever else you said.
No, yeah, ComEd and sludge are separate, but that's
It's
always
still
been,
costing
it's
us.
always been said, it still costs. And in your budget, the sewer plant in total with all those fees costs $1.1 million. So it's in your budget, that doesn't change. It's just, we're gonna be paying that.
Yeah.
That's it. And then if you look at the one line, there's a line in there for 31,652 or something like that, for $125,000. That's the one that every year is paying for things from the previous year or two. And so that number, you'll see that change in your next budget. So.
With, talking about ComEd bill and electricity and things, what's the status with the solar project?
Still moving ahead in design, so as you remember, we're not putting any upfront money, so the backer, the financial, the investor, they're looking for ways to increase the profitability for the investor. When I talked to them a month ago, they're looking at, and it's something that they do on water tanks, floating panels. This council approved and talked about putting panels on 12-foot poles to keep that, so water can come up and down underneath in those tanks and not take up any space. They were trying to look at the potential for using big pontoons and floating them as opposed to mounting them in the panel. So there's design work going on as to trying to maximize the incentive for the investor. So, but it's still moving in. And ComEd, we passed the ComEd clearances. ComEd's okay with the project. We just have to do it. So, you'll see it again before it actually gets constructed. It'll come back to you. You'll see the design. You'll see the final terms, and away we go.
When's the contract supposed to expire?
It expires on the 30th of this month,
Okay, so.
or the 31st. This is April, so April 31st. So yeah, you got it. So April 30th.
So this will be a new 5-year contract.
This is a 5-year extension, yes.
Okay. That's fine. I didn't know if it expired a couple years down the road, they were just looking to go off.
No, you're coming up on the expiration. We did bid this out competitively in 2019, the last time Veolia was selected. We only got 2 moves, Veolia and Test, and Veolia was the better, they have a better reach. This type of stuff with working to bring people in works better. They had a lot of engineers that come down and give us assistance, and that was why, and the money was the same within, on all that. In 2019, it was $50,000 difference. So there's bidding is, yeah.
There was some things that with Tessa was like a la carte that we were gonna be billed for differently too.
Different, yeah, they have a slightly
Some
different
differences.
model. So there's not a lot of people out doing this. I mean, so you've got Test and Veolia. So every couple of cycles, you should look to bid it just to find out you're in the market, but if we just did it, it's a big process, so. That's why, we're looking at this amendment, so.
Okay.
Hey, do you wanna meet there next 17th?
Not if the weather's like it is tonight.
So,
But we can make a trip. We
I
can still
was,
plan a
so
trip.
they met, Rory Munns, the Feelings Regional for Illinois, Wisconsin, the regional guy will be here, he was involved in this, and he will be here on the 17th, so.
That's our next.
Say hello.
Our next meeting is, the April 7th.
So any questions that come, as you read through it, any questions, let me know, I'll pass them on to Viola or.
I'd be willing to go down there earlier in the day and then come up here for our meeting. I don't like the meeting down there.
Yeah, if you wanna do a tour ahead of time, so we have.
We can maybe schedule something earlier and it's open to the public. It doesn't have to be any official.
Yeah, so
business,
we just have to, let them know we're coming, so that way,
Yeah.
they can give you the safety talk and all that stuff.
And then when we get our ditch and all that stuff done, we'll.
Yeah, so that's the other reason, there's gonna be a lot of work, we're out to bid now on our oxidation ditch project, so you can look at what's gonna be changed down there too, so there's a big $2 million job coming, so be worth to see. Okay, thank you.
All right, any other comments on the sewer plant before we go? Okay, city official comments. Sir,
I got a couple. Can we number the shelters at Royal Park, at City Park? And then, because they have to come up and apply for a shelter usage, correct? They would have a party or something like
If
that.
it's groups of 25 or more.
So if we could have that, then when they come up here to reserve the thing, we can give it to them and shows their number, what number they have, so they can go up there. Because people still reserve a shelter, and I still see them out there at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning saving it, even though they've got the thing, because they don't want somebody else and move somebody out. And if we could put a little sign up or something in each shelter to explain the rules of reserving a shelter or something like that, and what it is.
We can look at that.
That's all I
That was it?
got. Yep.
Matt, anything? No?
The only thing I have is, I know almost everybody realizes there's gonna be a solar eclipse coming April 8th. And if anybody from Streator is heading down to southern Illinois, I just hope you drive safe, wear your glasses. I remember 7 years ago when that same area had a solar eclipse, it was, a lot of people from Streator went down there and they didn't prepare for the traffic, they didn't prepare. So just keep in mind, it's gonna be crowded and be safe.
Watch it on the news.
Buy some souvenirs.
Safest place to be.
You're good? Hey, I'll just remind, April is the month that liquor licenses, gaming licenses, and amusement licenses are all due. So those are all coming in right now. And just a note, some legislation that's pending in Springfield. Senate Bill 3680 right now is a bill that is introduced, and they are looking at prohibiting ordinances penalizing tenants for nuisance type violations. So they want to make that so that we can no longer go after nuisance abatement. So now if you have 3 calls in within a year, we can go after your landlord and try to get you moved on. This bill is trying to prohibit allowing counties and municipalities from enacting that program. It's trying to discourage requiring background checks on tenants. There's a list of about 8 items on that. Because of the issues we have with rentals, I always want to make sure it's okay with council that if I write a letter opposed to the bill,
I was just gonna ask, can we send a letter from the council
that we
expressing our
can.
desire to not change this?
Yes. So I typically don't like to get into the Springfield politics and things, but I think this is one that I can see.
Directly affects us.
I think this directly affects us, and I can think of instances where not being able to go forward, it would be an issue for us, so, yeah. Okay, I can draft something and let you see it before I send
Do
it.
we know who's sponsoring that bill?
It is, it was introduced, let me see,
I'm sure it's not a.
there's 5 sponsors. Senator Karina Villa, Ann Gillespie, Don Harmon, Javier Cervantes, and Mary Edley Allen. So those are the 5 that are sponsoring the bill right now. So I saw that one and I thought, I don't know if that's a good idea for us, so.
It needs to be stopped.
Yeah. Okay,
And along that line, 121 Hickory has come down.
yes, yesterday. So that one has been demolished. And next week, 208, South Bloomington, 2 doors over from us, he'll move, clean that up and then move over here.
208 or 210?
Or is it 208, 210? Jeremy just walked out.
Yeah.
We're 204.
We know which one it is.
We're at 204.
Oh, no, that.
208.
208, I think it's
Right on
208.
the other side of the apartment.
I know which house it is.
So
I was
that will
thinking it
be,
was
Back's
210.
old house.
Who?
Back's old house.
so that will be coming down next week. Okay, I have no further comment. Any other city officials in the audience? Okay, then I will request a motion and second to adjourn.
Mayor, I wanted to
Chief.
remind the city council will be swearing in a new officer April 8th, and we'll also be promoting an officer to sergeant on April 8th.
Congratulations to both.
You guys want to come, so mark it on your calendar. I think it'll be about 900, okay? That's usually the time we do it. Right, Patty?
Yes, we will.
And this will be, Chief, our first female officer
Since
since
the
the 90s.
1990s.
Yes.
So welcome her on next Monday.
And promoting investigator Ryan Reel to sergeant.
To sergeant, right?
Yes.
All deserved, Brian's,
I know.
yes, doing a good job as investigator, so.
Yes, he is.
Okay. Okay, thanks for that update. Anyone else? All right, I will request a motion and second then.
So moved.
Second.
Dave Reed with the motion and Matt McClellan with the second. Clerk, call the roll, please.
Connor,
Aye.
Gary, McMullen,
Aye.
Reed,
Aye.
Mayor Beat.
Aye. We're adjourned.